Hi, we're Supply and Demand, and today we're going to be replacing a few parts on this Frigidaire refrigerator, model FFTR1814TBB. We'll be replacing the fridge and freezer door handles, the condenser fan motor, the defrost thermostat, the compressor start relay and run capacitor, the defrost timer, the evaporator fan motor, and the temperature cold control. Let's start with the refrigerator door handle and screws. To get started, open the fridge door and unscrew the two screws on top of the door. Then, carefully remove the handle from the fridge. There will be a screw on the front of the door that needs to be removed as well. Replace this screw with the Supply and Demand door handle mounting screw. Then, slide the handle into place like so. Replace the top screws with the ones included in the Supply and Demand door handle kit. Now we'll replace the freezer door handle. The process for this is exactly the same as the refrigerator door, just upside down. Start by opening the freezer door and removing the screws at the bottom of the door. Slide the handle off of the freezer. There will be a screw on the front of the door that needs to be removed. Replace this screw with the Supply and Demand door handle mounting screw. Then slide the handle into place like so. Replace the bottom screws with the ones included in the Supply and Demand door handle kit. Next, we're going to replace the evaporator fan motor. This is located in the freezer behind the back panel. Remove the black clip and the shelf from the freezer. Using a socket screwdriver, remove the two screws holding the back panel in place. With a flathead screwdriver, release the clip locking the small square panel to the main panel. Remove the two connector clips from the back panel. Lower the back panel and disconnect the wiring harness from the back of the freezer. On the front of this panel, there is a rectangular cover piece. Remove this from the panel. There will be a fan underneath. Pull the fan and the small washer off of the shaft. On the other side, you will find the evaporator fan motor. This is held into place with a bracket that simply needs to be turned to be removed. Remove the evaporator fan motor, replace with the supply and demand evaporator fan motor, and make sure the shaft goes through the slot. Turn the bracket back into place. On the front of the panel, put the washer and the fan back onto the shaft. Replace the back panel if you are finished with your repairs at this time. Skip ahead to the marked place on the timeline to see how this is done. We're going to replace the defrost thermostat. This requires wire splicing, crimping, and heat shrinking. If you are uncomfortable with this type of work, seek out the services of a trained service professional. To get started, we need to remove the back panel from the fridge. Skip to the marked place on the timeline to see how this is done. Unclip the defrost thermostat from the tubing and then unclip the wiring harness. Using wire snippers, cut the wires close to the defrost thermostat. Next, you'll need to strip the plastic coating from the wires as shown here. Do this for both of them. Take the supply and demand defrost thermostat from your kit. Remove the wire caps and strip the wires. Place the black heat shrink sleeves over both of the wires before crimping the wires in place. Using a crimping tool, secure the pink sleeves to the new defrost thermostat. You may have to cut the wires to fit them into the pink sleeves. Match the wires of the thermostat to the wires of the wiring harness connected to the freezer. Crimp together to secure. Once this is done, check your connections to make sure that they are secure and the wires are not easily pulled out. Next, slide the black heat shrink sleeve over this connection. Using a lighter, carefully heat these sleeves until they are snug around the wires. It is important to keep the lighter moving as you don't want to burn a hole through any wires. Do not use a heat gun or blowtorch for this, as you risk melting the plastic walls of the freezer. Once finished, clip the defrost thermostat back into place and plug in the wiring harness. There is a clip for the wires to slide into on the back of the freezer. Now we'll lift the back panel and plug the wiring harness back in. Push the two connector clips back into place on the back panel. Once the back panel is upright, replace the screws and the square cover. Tilt the freezer shelf as shown here to get it back into the holes. Replace the black clip to keep the shelf from sliding or falling out. We are going to be replacing the defrost timer and the temperature cold control. These are located in the fridge at the very top of the cabinet. To access this, remove the top rack and the temperature control knob. Using a socket screw, unscrew the 4 screws holding this top panel in place. Gently lower the panel and unplug the wiring harness to fully remove the panel from the fridge. There will be 2 screws on the front to remove to release the defrost timer. Once done, flip the panel over. Remove the defrost timer and unplug the wiring harness. Now we're going to remove the cold control. Using a flathead screwdriver, disconnect the green, red, and blue wire connectors. Then, release the cold control from the clips. There is a long metal wire extending from the cold control to the very top of the panel that then wraps around it. Follow the wire to the end and carefully remove it from the panel. You will need to remove part of the panel to do so. You will need to slide the plastic cover from this wire to use on the supply and demand cold control. Once you have done this, slide the cold control back into place in the clips and reconnect the wires. Feed the long wire through the panel in the exact same way that it was removed. Replace the part of the panel that was removed. Plug the supply and demand defrost timer into the wiring harness. On the front of the panel, screw the screws securing the defrost timer back into place. Put the panel back in the fridge and plug the wiring harness back in. Replace the screws and the temperature control knob. Replace the fridge rack and close the door. Now we're going to replace the condenser fan motor. This is located on the back of the fridge at the very bottom. To access this, remove the brown cover panel. The fan motor is held into place by a white mounting plate with 3 screws. Remove these and set aside to replace later. Pull the fan off of the motor shaft and remove. Unplug the wiring harness and then remove the fan motor from the fridge. Replace with the supply and demand fan motor. This comes with a wiring harness that will need to be plugged into the fan motor and then connected to the wiring harness on the fridge. Put the fan motor back into place and replace the 3 mounting screws. Slide the fan back onto the motor shaft. Now we're going to replace the compressor start relay and run capacitor. Using a flathead screwdriver, unclip the metal mounting clip and wire harness. Carefully remove the start relay and run capacitor. You will notice 3 holes on the start relay and run capacitor. These plug into the 3 prongs on the compressor as shown here. Plug in the supply and demand start relay and run capacitor and reconnect the wiring harness. Clip the metal mounting clip back into place. Replace the brown cover panel on the back of the fridge. Once you're finished, turn the fridge around and plug it back in. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if this video helped you out, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below.